Hey folks, this is Derek from Send More People. Today I'd like to show you how to make a simple but dynamic set of clouds for your 2D video game, probably a platformer of some kind. This tutorial assumes a basic knowledge of the software Unity, which is, what you use to make video games, and also access to a digital drawing program such as Adobe Illustrator, as I'm doing here. I'm using Illustrator, but software like Photoshop or GIMP would work just as well as long as you can export to PNG. So without further ado, let's get into this. So the first step is to create yourself a cloud shape, which is pretty easy to do. You start with a clear stroke texture in the center, and then a black outline so you can see what you're doing. And then you draw your basic cloud shape. Not getting into too much detail here. I'm going to zoom in and select the two endpoints here, join them together into an average so it's one continuous piece, and then I'm going to zoom out. So one major requirement when you're making clouds is to make sure that it looks good from any angle, because this central cloud piece here is going to be rotating. That's how we're going to make some dynamic cloud look, and you'll see what I mean in a bit. So you just add to the cloud shape a little bit and make it look like it's billowing in some way. Then you hit R and rotate your cloud piece a little bit, and then draw it a little bit more, making some cool billowing effect. Rotate again, and doodle again. Probably want to curve that out a little bit. And then probably one final time. Yeah. It's the cloud drawing sound effect. So when you're done, you have this kind of fluffy looking thing, which you can, zoom out and see there. Okay, so let's center this little cloud piece. Make some final last minute adjustments so it looks a little irregular. There you go. Now what you want to do is replace the interior and exterior lines so that the interior is pure white and the exterior is stroke. So if I were to create a layer behind this other layer, which I'm doing right now, I'll just draw something out, boom, and make it light blue, like the sky. Hey, you should see your cloud floating above it, like that. No lines, no stroke. Okay, so I'm going to make that invisible and select here so you can see the pen stroke of what I'm talking about. Now the next step is to export for web. I'm going to make this into a PNG file. So I go over to here. You probably have a different way to do this on your own software, but mine is Illustrator. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to save it as Clouds Osmo Extremo. You can obviously save it as whatever you like and replace that. Okay, now what you want to do is open up Unity, the software in which you're going to be making your video game. Now that you're in Unity, your first step is to import the asset that you just made. So I go to my folder and import Clouds Osmo Extremo, and you can see it right here as a texture. Next, you're going to want to make the cloud in the scene. So what you do for that is do as I've done here and create a plane. And then you rotate the plane 90 degrees so that it's facing the main camera. Next, you create a material. And you make this material a transparent texture. I recommend transparent diffuse. And as the texture for transparent diffuse, you select the asset that you just made, the Cloud Osmo Extremo, or whatever it is that you called it. And then for the sake of simplicity, I just call it cloud. So now you have this asset, this material. You drag it onto the scene, drag it onto your plane, and as you can see, the plane has adopted the texture as its main shape. The problem is now it's dark. And so when you can fix that by just going into the game object scene, creating a directional light, and removing from it all possible rotations so that it's shining directly onto your light. And you take the main camera. I want to position it so that it's a little bit to the right of the cloud, and you'll see why in a second. So the only step is now to create a script that will govern this cloud's movements. I've already done that. I've started a JavaScript called CloudScript. You can call it whatever you like. And let's jump over into that now. Here we are in MonoDevelop, editing your cloud script. The first thing that you want to do is set up the script so that it'll rotate the cloud in a slow, probably like 5 degrees per minute per second, really. So the way that you do that is go about assigning a variable. Obviously, you start out var rotation speed and make it an integer. And then you go down into the update section, and for the sake of clarity, we'll call this rotate cloud. And you write the following script: transform dot rotate parenthesis vector 3, not 4, up time delta time. Remember to spell. That is crucial. Rotation speed, the variable that you just set. Close parenthesis and semicolon. So now you can set in the function, you can set in the editor rather, the rotation speed, and it'll the script will rotate your shape by the rotation speed that you set over time. Next, you want the cloud to move slowly from one side of the screen to the other. I'm assuming that you're moving right to left here, but you can change the script around as you like. We'll label this section of script move cloud, and then we write in a very basic line of code transform dot position dot x plus equals, and then we want to choose from really small value because this is happening every frame, basically, on every update. 0.01 I found works well. So what that does is move the x quality, the x position of your shape over by the smallest amount, 0.01, every time the frame updates. So now what we have is a slowly rotating cloud that's slowly moving to the right. Now let's see if this works. We'll save the script and jump back into Unity. Now Unity will take a few seconds to make sure that the script is okay. On my computer it might be taking a little bit longer. But you can see from here that it's accepted the script, and now we're good to go. Now I'm going to click our plane and rename this cloud because it's no longer a plane. It is our main cloudy script. And I'm going to drag the JavaScript that we just created onto the cloud in the hierarchy. Next, I'm going to scroll down and see where our script is in the editor. I'm going to set the rotation speed to something like 6 frames per second. Now, we're going to hit play on the script and see what happens. Ta-da! Now we have a very slowly moving, very slowly rotating cloud. But this looks kind of boring, right? It's just obviously a static image that's not really doing anything. How can we make this look interesting? Well, this is the next section, and this is where you can see how cool Unity is and how it can save you a lot of time and effort. We pause the script again, and now what we do is duplicate, or you know what, I'm just going to drag our cloud prefab from the hierarchy into our asset store. Next, I'm going to drag it back out from the asset store into into Unity, the script, or into the main editor, sorry, the scene. So now we have 2. And I'm just going to duplicate it again, so we have 3. Zoom in a little bit here. You can see that each of these has a slightly different, well, I'm going to change the Z space. So now this is behind by about 2. This is up by 1. And this is, give it a depth of -1. This is so that the scripts aren't, you know, overlapping on each other, obviously. Now we take the clouds and we rotate them in slightly different ways so that they're not all obviously the same on the same rotation. I'm going to make us bring it to an orthographic. Next, I'm going to make sure that these clouds are slightly different in ways. So we'll make this 1.5 the ordinary size. Move it over a bit. This one will keep the same size, and this one will make 1.2. So what I've done here is basically take a single prefab cloud shape, and I've edited just basic things like size, right? So that it's really the same cloud shape. They have the same behavior, but they're slightly different rotated, and they're slightly different size, so they visually look different. One crucial final component is to make sure that you've imported the texture as a GUI, which allows for greater quality, and you make sure that the format is in true color. So once you've done that, the cloud should be fairly pure white, as you can see it is right here. Now let's test it out and see what exactly our cloud looks like. So there you go. Now with 3 simple cloud shapes, each of them rotating and each of them overlapping, you get this appearance that the cloud is kind of billowing and changing as it moves across the map, even though you're just using static textures. And of course, you can always go into the editor after the fact and move some clouds around. Make sure that, you know, there's no real problems here. Maybe duplicate a texture and move it over a bit. And you can mess with this as you deem appropriate. Hit play. So there you go. A nice white fluffy cloud that takes very little by the way of system resources, and I think looks pretty nice on a 2D platformer. Well, thanks for watching. Tune in to Send More People for more videos on how we're doing what we're doing, and I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Thanks.